Indiana escapes Iowa winning 20-15 with Mendoza running backwards for about 40-50 yards, earning a safety to run out the clock. Iowa covered the 8.5-point spread, and this was an ugly, ugly game. It went Iowa's way in just about every way it possibly could. They held Indiana to a 41% success rate, to 6.7 yards per play, to negative 0.13 expected points added per play. They held Indiana's defense to only producing a 10% havoc rate and only stuffing the run 30% of the time, which those are good numbers defensively. They're average, which against a team like Iowa in Kinnick, with the type of offense they have, love to run the ball, great O-line, those are good numbers. Before we resume this segment, some great and free ways to support this channel are liking the video, watching it all the way through, commenting your thoughts down below. I love to hear your analysis, sharing the video, subscribing to the channel, and also hitting the notification bell. That way you can get notified when we go live or release new content. And don't just hit the notification bell for the channel, that's very helpful, but what's also helpful and free and useful to you, if you are a diehard fan of a specific team and want to get notifications whenever I make content about a specific team, not just my content in general, well, we have playlists for every Power 4 college football team, so the notification bell on any of those playlists you are interested in. If you want to support the channel financially, there are ways to do so in the description, and you can sign up as a paid member. It could even be elite numbers against the type of offense Iowa runs. And yet, Iowa had a chance to win, and there's a very good chance they do win if Drew Stevens makes that field goal late. This game went Iowa's way, and I said it in my video about how Iowa could pull off the upset. Gronowski needed to have the game of his life. He needed to play at an extremely high level. He was 19 of 25 for 144 yards, 5.8 yards per attempt. He had 1 rushing touchdown, 7 rushing yards. He did throw 1 pick, and he only had a 54.7 QBR. But against a defense like Indiana's, that is about as good of a game as one could expect. Could have gone better in some instances, such as him not getting hurt, and I do hope and pray that he is healthy. Hate injuries in college football, always. And yet, he did as well as he realistically could have, I think. Iowa's rushing attack was stonewalled. That was an area they needed to do better in to secure the win. But really outside of that, and Stevens missing that field goal, Iowa passing the ball, I think did about as well as they could. Even in terms of total offense, I thought they did close to as well as they could have. I didn't really see Iowa scoring more than 20 points in this game. They scored 13. It could have scored 16 if Stevens makes that field goal. It was more about the defense that had to come through if Iowa wanted to win, and they came through. They had 2 sacks, 6 TFLs, 2 passes defended. Zach Lutmer had an interception. This, based on what I know about Indiana's offense, Fernando Mendoza, Elijah Sarratt, an offensive line that in this game averaged 4.5 yards per carry, sack adjusted, and Roman Hemby was busting tackles. I've told you before, Indiana's lines of scrimmage are much better than they were last year. And even in this game, I think they showed that in instances. But Iowa was able to have a 15% havoc rate, which means 15% of Indiana's plays offensively were a pick, a forced fumble, a sack, a TFL, or a stuff play with no gain or a negative gain, a loss. For Iowa to hold Indiana to negatives in expected points added per drop back and expected points added per rush, that is impressive. Of course, you have the long touchdown late in the game that won it for Indiana, the 49-yard pass from Mendoza to Sarratt. But that's because Mendoza's an NFL QB and Sarratt is going to be a day 2, day 3 wide receiver pick in the draft. Similar with Omar Cooper Jr. Nico Radicic making field goals of 46 and 44 yards in that final sequence, 19 seconds, 47 yards, and 3 plays. Hemby breaking that initial tackle to get down the field and give Indiana a chance there instead of just running it into the half. That is why Indiana is one of the best teams in the country. Their physicality even on Iowa's best day, can outmatch and overcome Iowa's physicality. Iowa is a better team than they were last year. That I'm pretty confident in. They have better QB play when Gronowski is healthy. And look, Hank Brown isn't probably that much worse than Cade McNamara, and he's better than Deacon Hill. They have probably a better offensive line than they did last year. They just no longer have Caleb Johnson, so their rushing offense is worse. They have better receivers. And defensively, I don't quite know how good their secondary is yet, but their secondary wasn't the problem yesterday. When you zero blitz, when you have to blitz to get pressure, and when you want to blitz to force that turnover, because you know your offense isn't going to score, so the only chance you have to score is a pick six or returning a pick in field goal range or forcing a fumble, you take risks. Phil Parker took a calculated risk. He called an amazing game. Indiana just has the better athletes. They develop better, and they had the far superior quarterback, in part due to injury. It happens. This stuff happens. Iowa is one of the best 2-loss teams in college football right now. They are a team that I think, while I'm not picking them to beat Oregon or Penn State right now, they will give, I think, both of those teams some fits, especially based on where they are in the schedule. The question I have for Indiana is, can they scale against the top 10? In this game, I think, proved they could at least hold water at times against a top 10 lines of scrimmage, as I think Iowa has top 10 lines of scrimmage, but Iowa does not have top 10 perimeter play. They don't on defense, although it's good, it's close. They certainly do not have top 10 perimeter play offensively. And Gronowski was able to really identify holes in the zone and find them to get completions for his receivers. Indiana knew what they were doing by letting Iowa get what they could in short yardage. It was a wonderful game plan. Very similar, I think, Tim Lester's game plan was to Will Stein's against Penn State. You're facing a really good defense, so just get what yardage you can. Maybe you can get a really sustainable, 15-play drive that results in a touchdown, and they had that with an 11-play, 73-yard. That's fewer than 7 yards per play. 5-minute, 31-second touchdown drive to close out halftime. Iowa had that. But against this defense, you're only going to get those so often. And the difference between Indiana and Penn State, and I know Oregon is much more talented than Iowa. That's not the point, because Indiana is not as talented as Penn State. The difference with Indiana and Penn State is Indiana knows how to identify weaknesses. They know how to make adjustments, and their staff and their players are as tough as nails. The players, they share that in common with Penn State's players. I think Penn State's players are as tough as nails. The coaching staff, there's no ego with Indiana's coaching staff. None. And Mendoza delivers big-time throws for wins in a way that Allard just doesn't consistently do as much. I'm excited to see Indiana play Oregon in 2 weeks. Both of a bye. It'll be a top 10 matchup. Oregon favored by 10.5 points right now. Would expect that line to grow before kickoff. But Indiana has a chance. They're one of the best coached, if not the best coached team in America. And per the power ratings, they're a top 5 team right now. I just hope Gronowski gets healthy, because with him, Iowa can pull off maybe an upset or two. Could finish with potentially 8 wins. Without him, though, and with Hank Brown, this is a team that can miss a bowl game. Thank you so much for watching this segment on College Football with Sam. Before we close out here, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share this video around, comment your thoughts and analysis down below so I can read them and reply to them if I have the time. Members get priority replies, but I try to reply to everyone. And also hit the notification bell for the channel and also for any team playlists you are interested in. If you want to support the channel financially, you can always super chat me in the comment section, but I prefer that you sign up as a paid member of the Patreon page or as a YouTube member, or that you can purchase some wonderful merchandise to represent us. I'll see you all soon, and have a fantastic day.